Chapter 11:22. Since they could not ask the beast deity, the problem of how to ascend the mountain became a dilemma. But luckily, they still had a whole winter to slowly think about it, so they were not in a hurry to come up with an answer. The rainy season in Saint Nazaire was extremely busy. Males and families hunted and preserved meat in a frenzy, while those that did not mate would follow Barit and Oridan out to search for the potatoes, sweet potatoes, and lotus roots that Gu Mengmeng had taught everyone before. The rest of them tanned beast skins and divided them according to their grades, before distributing them equally to all the females in Saint Nazaire. Gu Mengmeng had brought everyone to do it once during the winter 2 years ago. Although Gu Mengmeng was not around last year, there were many old tribesmen in Saint Nazaire, so they did not delay the preparation of supplies while defending against the enemies. This year, everyone was more experienced. With Gu Mengmeng holding the fort at home, Elvis traversing through the territory, and Leah strategizing in the tribe, everything was more orderly. Ever since Gu Mengmeng made Mandy call her by her name, Mandy seemed to be hooked by her soul, running over to Gu Mengmeng's place every day. There was nothing special, just following behind Gu Mengmeng to watch others preserve meat or give pointers on how to prepare and store vegetables. Counting the days, first snow should be here soon. Gu Mengmeng was sitting at the entrance of the cave, looking up at the sky when she saw an eagle owl flying close to the ground. When it reached Gu Mengmeng, it transformed into a human and said, "Great messenger, Frankston's witch doctor Joshua wishes to see you." Joshua? Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and asked, "What is he here for?" The eagle owl shook its head and said, "I don't know, he won't tell me even if I ask him. He only said that he wishes to see the great messenger and won't leave until he sees you." Gu Mengmeng originally wanted to say that the witch doctor could look for him if he had something to do, but thinking about how Leah was already having a hard time arranging the distribution of resources for the winter, and also having to worry about obtaining the love of the sky from Moda Mountains, as well as being on guard against Cole's interference, even the smartest person would be exhausted. She sighed and said, "Ask him to come in." "Yes." The eagle owl bowed, then transformed into a beast and flew against the wind. Not long later, Joshua appeared in front of Gu Mengmeng. To be honest, Gu Mengmeng was stunned by this first-level ape. Not because he looked outstanding, but because he was wearing clothes. Yes, clothes. It was not the beast-skin skirt that Elvis and Leah usually wore, nor was it the strange clothes that Leah wore during the ritual. Instead, it was a simple long robe. Judging from the material, it was made of deerskin. Calling it a robe would be an exaggeration. It looked like 2 pieces of deerskin with the head, tail, and limbs removed and cut into a rectangle. One end was sewn with thread, leaving only a collar. After putting it on, a 4-finger-wide belt was made out of something that looked like tree bark. The shoulders of the clothes were slightly wider than his body, and when the waist was tightened, many of the shortcomings of his body were covered up. Joshua, who was originally weaker than high-level orcs like Elvis and Leah, now had a scholarly and refined aura. He did not look like a barbarian, but more like an ancient person. This was the first time Gu Mengmeng saw a male wearing clothes that were meant to cover his body after coming to the beast world. She could not help but feel a sense of familiarity. Chapter 11:23. Greetings, great messenger. Joshua bowed respectfully. Gu Mengmeng nodded as a form of greeting, but did not go near Joshua. After all, she didn't forget that when she passed by Frankston on her way back from Zacharias, Frankston's leader, Hanston, and this witch doctor, Joshua, had offered to escort her. At that time, Hanston had said that he didn't dare to have any other thoughts, but this level 1 Joshua had stubbornly insisted that he wouldn't give up. What if her man got jealous? Now that Elvis and Leah were not at home, Gu Mengmeng did not want to cause any unnecessary trouble. After all, first it was Fei Rui, then it was Victor, and then there was a male vulture. If she got involved with this Joshua, she would not be able to do anything for the entire winter. She would just be soaking in a vat of jealousy every day. So, Gu Mengmeng maintained a certain distance from Joshua. She asked with a neutral expression, "Is there anything you need from me?" Joshua nodded. "Winter is coming soon. I wish to request to stay in the great messenger's cave." If it was in the past, Gu Mengmeng might have asked why he wanted to stay in her cave. But Barit had already caused trouble once before, so Gu Mengmeng naturally understood that Joshua wanted to stay in the cave to store food for her. Holding her forehead, Gu Mengmeng shook her head. "Elvis only stored enough food for our family to survive the winter. He did not prepare any for you." In other words, she did not lack food and did not want you. Joshua did not seem surprised by this answer. After all, they were a neighboring tribe. It was no secret that Saint Nazir had a way to store food. Joshua nodded. Then, he tilted his head and smiled. "Then, does the great messenger lack beast pets? The kind that is the closest to your way of thinking and behavior?" Gu Mengmeng chuckled. She shook her head. "Joshua, I have no intention of recruiting new males into my family. So don't waste any more time on me. Go find a new target. I can wait." Joshua did not seem to take Gu Mengmeng's rejection to heart. He just lowered his head. The males in the beast world are all stubborn. They either don't love, or fall in love for the rest of their lives. Gu Mengmeng was very clear about this. However, she no longer wanted to carry someone else's burden for the rest of her life. It was too heavy. Gently caressing the back of her neck, Gu Mengmeng smiled. "My stance is very clear. I don't like you. If there's nothing else, please leave." Joshua shook his head. "I want to join Saint Nazir as a witch doctor." Unmated males had the right to decide which tribe they wanted to live in. Witch doctors were a precious resource that was second only to females. Almost all tribes fought over them, and there was absolutely no reason to reject them. However, if they accepted him, wouldn't it mean that they had tacitly agreed to his waiting? Chapter 11:24. "Oh, by the way, other than me, there are 17 females in our tribe. Other than Maya, who is a half-orc, the rest are all complete females." As Gu Mengmeng said, she held Mandy's arm and smiled. "Here, she is Mandy, a female leopard. I personally crowned her the first beauty of the beast world a year ago. If you want to mate, why don't you consider wooing Mandy?" After saying that, Gu Mengmeng felt her face hurt. She sounded like a pimp. Mandy glared at Gu Mengmeng shyly. "I promised Ian that I will only accept him this year. If you want to woo me, you have to wait until next year." Joshua smiled at Mandy and said, "Nice to meet you, Mandy." That was considered as a greeting. Then, Joshua's gaze returned to Gu Mengmeng. "I can accept the test to join the tribe. I am willing to accept it no matter what the test is. I must join Saint Nazir." "Join Saint Nazir as a witch doctor?" "Sure, you are most welcome." Leah hurried back the moment he heard that Joshua had come to meet Gu Mengmeng. But the moment he arrived, he heard this fellow confessing to Gu Mengmeng. He did not appear because he wanted to hear Gu Mengmeng reject him personally. But even after Gu Mengmeng made it so clear, he still pestered her. Leah patted Joshua's shoulder lightly and said, "The witch doctor's test shall be conducted in the witch doctor's way. I just patted 4 types of medicine on your shoulder. If you can find all 4 types of medicine by this time tomorrow, you will pass. I will welcome you on behalf of Saint Nazir. If you can't find them, then you can scram back to where you came from. Don't be an eyesore in front of me again." Joshua tilted his head and sniffed the scent on his shoulder. For smells, the number was correct. But these 4 smells were especially faint and hard to distinguish. But in order to join Saint Nazir, Joshua still decided to accept this challenge. Passing the test as a witch doctor meant that the test given by Leah was not too harsh. "Okay," Joshua answered and turned around to search for the medicine that he had sniffed out first. After Joshua left, Gu Meng Meng leaned on Li's shoulder. What did you pat on his shoulder? Are you sure he won't be able to find it? Leah chuckled. Don't worry, I will not allow flies to keep flying around you. Gu Meng Meng laughed and said, didn't you say you have a lot of things to settle? Why are you back so early? Leah carried Gu Meng Meng in his arms and said, come back to kill flies. Gu Meng Meng replied, it's just Joshua, I can handle him myself. Leah replied, if you have to handle everything, why do you still need Elvis and me? Gu Meng Meng was speechless. She could only wrap her arms around Li's neck and lean into the hollow of his neck, allowing him to carry her back to the cave. Mandy followed him for 2 steps, but upon receiving Li's warning gaze, she could only turn around and leave angrily. Only then did Leah heave a sigh of relief. His Meng Meng was too outstanding, what should he do if she could win over both genders? He had finally gotten rid of Sandy with much difficulty, and now there was Mandy. Could it be that those with Mandy in their names all had a special liking for his Meng Meng? TSK, as expected, she could not leave Gu Meng Meng's side with Elvis, or else it would be hard to guard against her. Chapter 11:25. Leah didn't tell Gu Meng Meng which 4 drugs he had applied on Joshua's body, and Gu Meng Meng didn't press him. Gu Meng Meng didn't have any special feelings for Joshua, so she didn't want to give him any hope. Turning a blind eye was the most heartless and appropriate method. There were many things to settle in the tribe, especially after confirming that they were going to the Moda Mountains during the monsoon season. Leah had even more things to settle. But everything he did was for Gu Meng Meng. If he neglected Gu Meng Meng because of those things, wouldn't he be putting the cart before the horse? In his eyes, nothing was more important than Gu Meng Meng. So since he was back, Leah didn't plan on going out again. He just sat at the entrance and started curing the meat like the other males. After all, if he didn't do it, Gu Meng Meng had to do it. Elvis, the great god of dark cooking, was forbidden from touching any food that wasn't edible. And he couldn't bear to part with Gu Meng Meng's hands rubbing the coarse salt crystals. Seeing that Leah was preparing the food, Gu Meng Meng automatically stood behind him and massaged his shoulders. You must be exhausted after so many things happened recently. Leah enjoyed Gu Meng Meng's service and smiled. The most tiring thing is that I can't look at you every day. I have to resist the urge to leave everything behind and come back. It's so tiring. But winter is coming soon. By then, I will have nothing to do and just have to look at you every day. Gu Meng Meng wrapped her arms around Li's shoulders from behind and rested her chin on his neck. In the blink of an eye, this is the 3rd winter we have spent together. Leah shook his head. The 1st. Huh? Gu Meng Meng didn't understand. Leah said, in the 1st year, you mated with Elvis and I was an outsider. In the 2nd year, you circled around Qi Xian for the entire winter. Elvis and I were both outsiders. This year, you have to focus on accompanying the 2 of us. After all, this is the 1st winter for the 3 of us as a family of 3. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. All right, we will stay in the cave for the entire winter. I will accompany the 2 of you. Leah nodded and said, Elvis and I have already expanded the layout of the cave. Before winter, that stone table will be moved into the cave. The storage room has also been expanded to make it easier for you to throw potatoes at us. The floor is also covered with soft new soil, so you won't trip or hurt your feet when you chase after us. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. Why would I throw potatoes at you? Leah glanced sideways with a tinge of disappointment in his eyes. You won't be screwed up this year. Gu Meng Meng blinked her eyes and looked at Leah in confusion. Leah sighed. I was very envious at that time. I thought I would finally have the chance to be smashed by you this year. That year? Gu Meng Meng thought for a long time before recalling that in the 1st year of mating with Elvis, Elvis had said that she had gained weight. She was so angry that she chased after Elvis and threw potatoes and sweet potatoes everywhere, causing him to dodge in all directions, but not a single thing fell to the ground, and he caught all the food she threw at him steadily. She hugged Leah and rubbed herself against him with all her might, smiling. "Are you an idiot? Why would you be envious of being beaten up?" Leah allowed Gu Mengmeng to mess around with him. He smiled indulgently. "I have masochistic tendencies. I only do this to you." Aside from the topic, today's update has ended, babies. Susu is working very hard to save chapters. Really working very hard. So, are there any rewards? Something like a monthly ticket, or something like that. Act cute and roll on the ground for tickets. Chapter 11:26. Yeah, Gu Mengmeng remembered this. Leah had always been envious of all the little things she did to Elvis before they became partners, like twisting his ears, smashing potatoes, until now, this fellow would still shake his furry beast ears from time to time, looking at her with an expectant gaze, asking if she wanted to twist his ears. That year of broken roots and broken threads must have really tortured Leah badly, right? She reached out her little hand and rubbed Lee's ears. Then, she chuckled. Domestic violence is not acceptable. In the past, I smashed Elvis because I was a weakling. Even if I used all my strength to hit him, I could not hurt him much. But now, it's different. If I make a mistake, you or Elvis will be hurt. I'm a strong Gu Mengmeng now, I can't hit anyone as I please. Leah pulled Gu Mengmeng's little hand that was rubbing his ears and kissed it. Silly girl, in Elvis's and my world, you are never a weakling. If you want to hurt us, you don't need to use your fists. Just one look from you can push us into hell, or pull us back to the human world. One word from you can kill me on the spot, or bring me back to life. Gu Mengmeng pecked Lee's lips. Then, she smiled sweetly. My hubby has such a sweet mouth. A numbness spread throughout Lee's entire body. She often called Elvis's hubby, but this was the first time she called him hubby. This form of address was set after Snake snatched the title of boyfriend. But she had never called him that before. The first time she heard it, her heart trembled. He hugged her tightly in his arms and kissed her again. Call me that again. Hubby. Gu Mengmeng nestled in Lee's arms obediently. Her face was pinkish, making one feel pity for her. Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng and asked her to call him hubby time and time again. Every time she called him that, he had to kiss her a few times to stop the itch in his heart. Just like that, they spent the entire afternoon until Orton returned with Elvis in the evening carrying his hunted prey. Elvis took Gu Mengmeng from Lee's arms and hugged her. He took 2 deep breaths of the air that carried her scent, then looked at Leah and said, I heard that monkey came to confess to Xiaomeng. Leah nodded. Don't worry, I've already dealt with it. Yes. Elvis curled his lips in approval, before continuing, including today's harvest, we should have more or less stocked up on our prey for winter. From tomorrow onwards, I'll stay at home to accompany Xiaomeng. You can go and do your work. Leah nodded and did not speak. They all knew that what Leah needed to do was not to manage the tribe, but to go to the Moda Mountains during the rainy season. Same old rules, you're in charge of thinking, I'll be in charge of using my hands. Elvis added. Leah chuckled and raised his brows. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage now. Because every time there's a mistake, you'll push the blame to me, saying, he's the one who came up with the idea, I'm only responsible for beating him. TSK, why don't you be responsible for thinking, and I'll do it. Elvis smiled. I am the first partner. My arrangements are the rules. Leah shook his head helplessly and muttered, cunning. Chapter 11:27. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. The storage room in the cave had already expanded by more than 3 times. In the first year, Gu Mengmeng knew that in order to ensure that she had sufficient food, Elvis and Leah ate very little as long as it could sustain their lives. Last year, he was led by the nose by coal to solder for the winter, and Elvis did not have time to prepare too much. Luckily, he had the help of the 3 little ones and the food was still sufficient. This year, Elvis was practically risking his life. He could not wait to slaughter all the prey he could see and bring them back. Now that the cave was filled to the brim, even if the family of 3 ate to their heart's content, they would not be able to finish so much food during the winter. What else did she want? Nothing, there was really nothing else. In the next few days, Leah left early in the morning and returned late at night, looking travel-worn. Gu Mingming's heart ached for him to travel back and forth. She said that she could cook for herself during this period of time and asked Leah not to prepare 3 meals for her daily. After all, Leah could settle his meals in the wild on the spot. With less cooking time, he could rest for a while longer. But Leah did not agree. He just hugged her and said, "These 3 meals a day are my excuse to catch my breath. If I don't use this reason to come back to see you, I might not be able to persevere through this tiring day." Gu Mingming's heart was filled with sweetness, but she could not bear for him to suffer. So she said that she would prepare the 3 meals in the future and he could come back to eat with her. But Leah held on to her little hand and said, "Silly girl, your male is still alive, why should he let you suffer?" Her rebuttal was futile. Leah still came back on time to prepare 3 meals every day. After taking care of Gu Mingming's daily needs, he hurriedly went back to work. The weather was getting colder. Even without a calendar, one could feel that winter was about to arrive. Meng Meng. Leah took out a piece of beast skin and draped it over Gu Mingming's shoulders. Then, he hugged her shoulders and kissed her forehead, saying, "It's going to be winter soon. Should we hold a bonfire party to liven things up?" Gu Meng did not understand. Everyone was busy preparing food. Who would have the time to hold a bonfire party? Leah said, "Saint Nazir was not peaceful at this time last year. This year, with you back at the helm, no one would dare to cause trouble. However, the clansmen are more or less traumatized. When I saw Maya yesterday, she was still saying that she had a feeling that in the next second, an enemy would suddenly rush in to steal their food and kill their males." Maya. Gu Meng thought for a while. She had almost forgotten about this female. Maya had always been on good terms with Nina. She had watched coldly as Nina bullied Sandy for many years. Later, when he came and Nina lost her power, Maya had distanced herself from Nina and started hanging out with them. He had originally thought that females were precious and did not want Saint Nazir to be in a state of chaos, so naturally, he did not have any feelings for her. They lived in the same tribe, but they were not close. Meng. Leah hooked Gu Mingming's chin, his long and narrow eyes meeting Gu Mingming's. A hint of a sly smile entered her eyes. His thin lips curved up as he said in a low voice, "I want you to tell Maya that you want a male vulture as a partner. During the rainy season, we will go to the Moda Mountains to hunt for treasures." Chapter 11:28. Leo looked at Gu Meng and inched his face closer, saying, "Kiss me and I will tell you." Gu Meng did not act pretentiously and kissed Lee's face, saying, "Yeah, tell me." Leah held up Gu Mingming's little face and kissed her left and right, before replying in satisfaction, using her mouth to pass a message to someone. Someone. Gu Meng did not understand. Leo looked up at the sky with a cold smile on his lips. He caressed Gu Mingming's palm with his fingers and said in a seemingly nonchalant manner, "To see someone in pain, the easiest way is to give him hope and then ruthlessly extinguish it. In the past few years, he never got tired of giving me a support when I was in the mud, then taking it away the moment I stood up, watching me fall back into the mud." With that, Gu Meng immediately understood who someone was referring to. Frowning, Gu Meng asked softly, "You mean, Maya is Cole's woman?" Leah glanced sideways and chuckled at Gu Mingming's big clear eyes, saying, "I really love your ignorant look." Gu Meng snorted in disdain, but Leah rubbed Gu Mingming's little head and said, I am serious, this world is too ugly, you don't need to know or think about those filthy things, just leave it to Elvis and me to handle it. You just maintain this innocence and just watch as Elvis and I clean up the world for you. With that, Leah held the back of Gu Mingming's head and kissed her brow, saying, being so reliant and trusted by you makes me feel very accomplished. Gu Mingming did not say anything, but her eyes darkened. She turned to look at Elvis behind her and asked, you also know that Maya is Cole's woman? Elvis nodded and said, her appearance was too coincidental, Leah and I were just talking about creating a tribe, when a female held hostage by stray beasts appeared in front of us, a concept of, I will give you a pillow if you want to sleep. Gu Mingming recalled that during the first year of mating, Elvis had told her about their creation of a tribe in order to persuade her to accept Leah. Elvis had told her that Maya was the first female in Saint Nazaire. She did not think much about it then, but now she finally understood. Was this Cole's bad taste again? You want to create a tribe? Alright, I'll give you a female, go ahead and create it. When you build your tribe and think that you have the strength to fight against me, I will personally destroy your tribe. I will watch the hope in your eyes extinguish in an instant, leaving only the thin smoke of despair. This was really like Cole's style. Why did you still save her when you knew? Gu Mingming frowned. But Leo looked at Gu Mingming as if he was looking at a child. He smiled gently, full of pampering and indulgence. I'm a fox. Leo waved his tail and said, isn't the fox best at eating the meat in the trap and retreating unscathed, watching the hunter fly into a rage at the side of the trap? Gu Mingming paused for a moment before smiling. A normal human's thought process would naturally be to avoid risks. If they knew that there was a trap, their first reaction would naturally be to avoid it. Snatching chestnuts from the fire, it wasn't her style, but she had to admit that Leo was right. Chapter 11:29. But, why did you tell her about us going to Moda Mountains? Gu Mingming frowned. She did not want to get involved with Cole. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little nose and said, do you think Cole knows that I know Maya is his woman? Gu Mingming was a little confused by Lee's words and only understood after thinking it through twice. Thinking about it, with Cole's suspicious and scheming nature, it was impossible for him not to know that Leah had seen through Maya's identity. She nodded and said, I think so too. Leah chuckled and agreed, I think so too. Gu Mingming thought about it and then narrowed her eyes and said, you clearly know Maya is Cole's woman, but you still purposely leaked the information to Maya so that Cole would not believe you, right? Leah tapped the tip of Gu Mingming's nose and chuckled, smart. In this way, you have been asking about Moda Mountains with great fanfare, but in Cole's eyes, it is just a pretense. Gu Mingming chuckled, as if she could already see Cole's comical expression when he found out that he had been tricked by Leah. Yeah, the sight of the hunter standing at the side of the trap looking at the eaten bait and the empty trap was witnessed by the fox not far away. Such a beautiful scene, how could one not be looking forward to it? Leah rubbed his cheeks and said, and the spirit of the rocky cliffs that I unintentionally mentioned, will become the real target in that person's eyes. Gu Mingming nodded and smiled, alright, I got it. Let's hold a bonfire party tonight, Mandy and Maya will sit beside me. Leah pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it, saying, yeah, I look forward to your performance. That night, 18 bonfires were set up on the empty ground in Saint Nazaire. Gu Mingming's bonfire was the largest, while Maya and Mandy sat on her left and right. Mandy was the first beauty that Gu Mingming had personally named herself. Because of her relationship with Ian, it was natural for her to sit beside Gu Mingming. But Maya was a half-orc female and did not have a deep relationship with Gu Mingming like Sandy. She actually sat beside Gu Mingming, and this caused the other females in the tribe to be very displeased. Gu Mingming acted as if she could not see the enmity in the eyes of the other females in the tribe towards Maya. She just smiled and waved at Maya, calling her over to her fire. Maya was still timid, just like the time when she knelt at Gu Mingming's feet and begged to follow her. It was just that Gu Mengmeng had thought through some key points and would no longer treat Maya's behavior as a half-orc female's inferiority complex and cowardice. He had thought that Nina was the most annoying female in the beast world. He did not expect to meet Ellie. He had originally thought that Ellie was the classic example of a green tea bitch in the beast world. He did not expect that Maya was hiding beside him. TSK, so Maya was the scheming bitch among the females, the white lotus among the scumbags. He was really blind to not have seen it before. Maya. Gu Mengmeng smiled and was extremely gentle. Before I came back this time, Sandy was still talking about you to me. The three of us are the original females of Saint Nazir and our relationship is better than others. When I return from the Moda Mountains, I will bring you to Sauter. Sandy has 3 leopard cubs at home and they are so cute. Chapter 1130. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. The fish had bitten the bait. If they were really good friends, shouldn't they be concerned about Sandy and the cubs after hearing Gu Mengmeng's words? Why didn't Gu Mengmeng see through such clumsy acting in the past? Perhaps it was not that she couldn't see through it, but she had never cared about Maya before. So now that she knew she was a spy, she did not feel any anger. Putting herself in Maya's shoes, Gu Mengmeng tried to think. If this spy was not Maya but Sandy, she would definitely be furious. With that thought, Gu Mengmeng's mood improved. She smiled more sincerely and said, I plan to go to the Moda Mountains during the rainy season to find the love of the sky. But the Moda Mountains are very high, beasts can't even go up. Maya looked at Gu Mengmeng innocently. She did not know how many secrets she had revealed. Gu Mengmeng and Leah had to spend a long time to pry information about the Moda Mountains out of Ian's mouth, and as a half-orc female with no achievements in Saint Nazir, she really knew too much. Gu Mengmeng had her own thoughts but she did not show it on her face. She just continued, so I plan to take in a male vulture as my partner and let him fly me up. Vulture? Wow! Maya's face was full of longing, her eyes shining with envy. She said, I heard that vultures are the most arrogant race in the beast world. Every one of them has outstanding looks and is powerful. Gu Mengmeng is probably the only one in the entire beast world who can tame such a male. What a clumsy bootlicking. Gu Mengmeng smiled despite her disgust. They are my father's most loyal subjects. They should have the honor of being my partners. Maya's smile froze. If it was in the past, Gu Mengmeng would not have paid attention to Maya and would definitely not have noticed this flash of jealousy. But now, she could see it clearly. Maya quickly adjusted her expression and smiled in agreement. Being able to be your partner is a gift from the beast deity. After all, you are not only the messenger of the beast deity, but also the daughter of the beast deity. Gu Mengmeng smiled without saying a word. She just raised her eyebrows and put on a proud look. Maya was also afraid that she would give herself away if she stayed by Gu Mengmeng's side for too long, so when she saw that Gu Mengmeng was ignoring her, she took the initiative to say goodbye and returned to her campfire. After Maya left, Gu Mengmeng called Mandy over. The 2 males who came with her were the first partner Ralph and the newly mated Ian. Ralph was very tactful and did not take the initiative to approach Gu Mengmeng. Instead, he went to Lee's side to learn how to cook. Ian was more familiar with Gu Mengmeng. Before mating, Elvis and Leah did not say anything when he loitered around Gu Mengmeng. Now that they had mated, Elvis and Leah were even less concerned about him. Hence, they allowed him to sit beside Gu Mengmeng with Mandy between them. Chapter 1131. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. I can't guarantee that I will stay here during every rainy season, but I can guarantee that Saint Nazir will become stronger and stronger. So strong that no one will dare to sneak up on us and snatch our food. Mandy was a little disappointed. She pouted. Without you around, the atmosphere in the tribe will be weird. It's as if we are missing our backbone. It makes people feel uneasy. Gu Meng Meng patted Mandy's little head. Don't worry, everything will get better. Take your claws off her. Ian tooted. His tone was not very friendly. Without Wabi-Ai around, Ian was the only one left to bicker with Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng smirked mischievously. She removed her hand from Mandy's head and spread her palm out in front of Mandy. She stared at Ian provocatively and shouted, "Mandy, come, let's hold hands." Ian's eyes were fixed on Gu Meng Meng. Mandy felt overwhelmed by the favor. She carefully placed her fingertips on Gu Meng Meng's palm. Gu Meng Meng lifted her hand up and grabbed Mandy's little hand. Then, she purposely spread her fingers in front of Ian. She interlocked her fingers with Mandy. Then, she raised her chin and raised her brows. She looked at Ian with a "bite me if you have the guts" expression. Ian tooted. He turned to look at Elvis. Your female is seducing others like this. Aren't you going to stop her? Elvis's expression did not change. He just tore off a small piece of roasted meat from Leah and sent it to Gu Meng Meng's mouth. My Xiao Meng likes to bully others. It's her good fortune to have taken a liking to your Mandy. Snatch her back if you have the ability. If not, learn from Bode. Learn from Bode? Ian asked. Elvis looked up and said calmly, I accept my fate. Ian was so angry that he wanted to snatch Mandy back from Gu Meng Meng's hands. But when he saw how happy Mandy was looking at Gu Meng Meng with starry eyes, he forced himself to stop. Ian had admitted defeat too quickly. This made Gu Meng Meng feel very unhappy. When the person being provoked did not react, the provocation became especially boring. Gu Meng Meng let go of Mandy's hand, then hooked her finger to beckon Mandy to come closer. Mandy did not understand and just did as she was told. Then, Gu Meng Meng whispered into her ear, after the night campfire party, come to my cave. I have something to tell you. Mandy was very puzzled. What could they not say here? But she didn't ask any questions and just nodded obediently. The males in the beast world had excellent hearing, especially at such a close distance. Ian's face turned green. He hugged Mandy's shoulders and pulled her into his arms. He stared at Gu Meng Meng with his sickly face. Are you really going to bully others? I'm telling you, unless you kill me now, I won't allow you to do whatever you want to Mandy. Puff, Gu Meng Meng almost choked on her own saliva. She stared at Ian with widened eyes. What do you think I want to do to Mandy? Chapter 1132. No, no. Mandy hurriedly shook her head and instinctively struggled out of Ian's embrace. She squatted down in front of Gu Meng Meng and looked straight into her eyes. Afraid that she would misunderstand, she explained, You are the great messenger that I admire the most. How can I not like you? Gu Meng Meng glanced at Ian with a sly and provocative look, like a mischievous child playing a prank. So, do you like me? Gu Meng Meng asked deliberately. Mandy nodded without hesitation. I like you, of course I like you. Gu Meng Meng pounced forward and hugged Mandy tightly. She rested her chin on Mandy's shoulder and looked at Ian with her big eyes full of smiles. I like Mandy too. I like her very very much, Ian nodded. Ian was going crazy but could not do anything to Gu Meng Meng. Elvis held on to the back of Gu Meng Meng's collar and pulled her back into his arms. He said calmly, You look at her more than you look at me. I am jealous. Gu Meng Meng giggled and held Elvis's face with both hands. She kissed him and said, All right, I will stop fooling around. Let's eat. It was mainly because Ian's angry look was too interesting. Otherwise, Gu Meng Meng would not have teased Mandy like that. But, Gu Meng Meng had never thought that she would be mistaken as a homosexual one day. Did Elvis and Leah also have such subtle feelings when she fantasized about them in the past? Leah seemed to be alright, but Elvis seemed to explode at the mention of such things. He would definitely not be able to accept it. Compared to the two of them, Gu Mengmeng felt that her acceptance level was rather high. It was not real anyway. It was just fooling around. After settling the proper business, Gu Mengmeng did not have much interest in fooling around with the entire tribe. After all, according to tradition, what was about to happen next would not be harmonious. It was almost winter and the males naturally wanted to fight for the last chance to confess to the females they admired. Not interested in watching everyone clap for love, Gu Mengmeng left early and returned to the cave. Not long after, Mandy also found an excuse to leave. She circled around the area and headed to Gu Mengmeng's cave. Ian followed closely as if guarding against thieves, as if he was afraid that Gu Mengmeng would eat Mandy up. Gu Mengmeng could not be bothered to argue with him and just sprawled lazily by the stone table. When she saw Mandy, she waved her hand and gestured for her to sit over. After Mandy sat down, Leah carried a big pot of meat to the table. My Mengmeng cannot eat too much barbecued meat. She will have a nosebleed, so I came back to prepare a special stove. If you can still eat, why don't you accompany my Mengmeng to eat some? Mandy was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. Leah very gentlemanly took out 2 bowls, one for Gu Mengmeng and the other for Mandy. Then, he scooped 2 bowls of meat for the 2 females to chat while they ate. Gu Mengmeng didn't beat around the bush and said directly, Mandy, I called you here today because I want to drag you down with me to do something bad. Mandy looked at Gu Mengmeng as she ate. Alright, what are you doing? Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Perhaps this was the effect of idols. This Mandy, she actually agreed first before asking what it was about. Because of her admiration, she felt that idols were extremely beautiful even when they scratched their feet. Fortunately, she was not a bad person. Otherwise, even if she were to be sold, she would still be counting the money. Chapter 1133. Mandy looked at Gu Mengmeng, not really understanding. Gu Mengmeng said, I want all females to keep their distance from her and not play with her. Mandy nodded in realization and said with a smile, I understand now that you put it this way. Without asking why, Mandy nodded and continued. No problem, leave this matter to me. Before sunset tomorrow, I guarantee that none of the 16 valued females will bother with her. Gu Mengmeng chuckled approvingly. Then, she added. But you can't let anyone know that I am the one who ordered you to do this. Mandy nodded. No problem. Gu Mengmeng scooped another bowl of meat for Mandy. Eat more. Mandy replied and ate a few more bowls. Gu Mengmeng's appetite wasn't big and she had roasted meat during the night campfire party. Hence, most of the stewed meat went into Mandy's stomach. After finishing her meal, Mandy licked her lips and bade farewell to Gu Mengmeng reluctantly. She then followed Ian back to her own cave. Leah smiled at Gu Mengmeng as he tidied up the cutlery. Looks like we have the same idea. Gu Mengmeng chuckled in Elvis's arms. In the beast world, females are the most respected. Mated males treat their females like deities. As long as the 16 valued females ostracize Maya, it will be difficult for her to do anything in Saint Nazaire. After all, half of the people in Saint Nazaire are males from the 16 valued females. The other half are their pursuers. Without anyone to cooperate, Maya can't do anything. Leah continued Gu Mengmeng's words with approval. Gu Mengmeng nodded. I never thought that Maya had a problem before, so I didn't think so. Now that I think about it, Nina was really wronged. Her domineering personality was at least 80% due to Maya's incitement, right? I even thought that Maya was the one bullying Maya and that Maya was the type to swallow her anger. I didn't expect her to be the other way around. Leah rubbed his nose. It was rare for him to feel guilty. After all, he was the one who allowed Maya to incite Nina. Elvis could tell that Leah was feeling uneasy, so he interrupted. Do you really think Mandy can order those females around? I think they're also fighting each other openly and covertly. They don't look like they'll be obedient. Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, give them a common enemy and they will naturally unite. Actually, Elvis did not quite understand what Gu Meng Meng meant, so she explained, humans have a crowd mentality. When everyone did this, it became a matter of course. Even if you felt that something was wrong, if you didn't do it, you would become an anomaly. This would make people very uneasy, and they would compromise with themselves. In the end, they would go with the flow. In order to prove that he wasn't an anomaly, he suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and went even further than ordinary people. Elvis did not understand, but Lee's smile deepened. Chapter 1134. Let's take Maya as an example. Gu Meng Meng chuckled, then continued, I purposely arranged for her to sit beside me during the night campfire party today, and even called her over to my campfire to talk for a while. This was an opportunity for her to be hated. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng in confusion, asking, but Mandy also sat beside you, and went to talk to you, so will she be ostracized too? Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, Mandy is the first beauty of the beast world that I personally named. She has taken the little bamboo cup that I personally made and has become my partner with my good friend Ian. She can come to the cave to eat, chat and play with me whenever she wants. If she sits beside me, everyone will only take it for granted. But Maya is different. Gu Mingming's gaze turned cold, and with a hint of slyness, she said, although the 16 valued females come from different tribes, they came to Saint Nazaire together. They are on the same starting line, and have a kind of empathy for one another. And Maya, the original half-orc female of Saint Nazaire, will never be able to blend into the circle of the 16 valued females. If she had a good relationship with me like Sandy, it would still be alright. But unfortunately, our relationship is just a so-so. If Leah had not suggested for me to reveal the news to her today, I would have forgotten about this person. Gu Meng Meng paused, then said, if I really forget about her, it would be a good thing for her. After all, she knows how to show her weakness, putting on a cowardly look whenever she meets people, and is highly deceptive. Most females would not make things difficult for her, because a complete female would not even bother to treat a half-orc female like her as an opponent. But she just had to be like this, suddenly becoming the center of attention today. There must be some among the 16 valued females who are unconvinced, such as what right does a lowly half-orc female like her have to sit beside the messenger of the beast deity, or if just because she is an original female of Saint Nazaire, she can claim a relationship with the messenger. How shameless, and other reasons are enough to make her ostracize. Gu Meng Meng took a deep breath and continued, and what Mandy has to do is just to randomly start a conversation, then add some fuel to the fire. Leah held his cheek and looked at Gu Meng Meng, his long and narrow eyes filled with approval. He loved Gu Mingming's craftiness like a little fox, it was really charming. Lusting after her radiant look, Leah continued asking, are you so sure that those females will only target Maya and won't implicate Mandy? Gu Meng Meng nodded without a doubt and said, girls will not be jealous of Fan Bingbing's beauty, but they will be jealous of Wang Erhua from the class next door who has lost another 2 kilograms, and the neighbor Zhao Xiaomei's newly removed double eyelids are especially beautiful. Who were Fan Bingbing, Wang Erhua, and Zhao Xiaomei? Looking at Leah and Elvis's confused faces, Gu Meng Meng knew that they would not understand her explanation, so she changed her explanation. Let's put it this way, for example, one day you suddenly say that you don't want me anymore and that you like someone else. Then, when I see that the person you like is Melinda, I might start bawling and scold you for being a scum. Then, after the emotional trauma has passed, I will slowly recover. But if the person you like is Nina, then I will definitely be unhappy. She is not as good as me in every aspect, do you want her to not want me? This is simply trampling on my dignity, I can tolerate it, but I can't. We have to fight it out, right? Aside from the topic, regarding Maya, let me say a few words. This person did not suddenly turn evil. Actually, I have mentioned it in the previous chapter. I don't know if everyone still remembers it. 1. When Gu Mengmeng left the Snake King Valley and brought her tribesmen back to Saint Nazir from Sauter, they encountered stray beasts on the way. Then, how did the stray beasts know their route and exact time? At that time, Gu Mengmeng was already a beast king. If someone was following them, they would definitely discover it. So, there must be a traitor. 2. Cole used a worm on Leah, messing up his rationality and driving him crazy with jealousy. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when Maya said, Burke brought Kanwu and the rest along with Gu Mengmeng, they are more like a family than Leah. 3. Previously, on the grassland outside Sauter, the half-orc female who was with Cole was also Maya. I don't want my babies to become conspiracy theorists, but I'm afraid that you will feel that Maya's turn to evil was too sudden, so I'm going to recap the past. Chapter 1135. Li's face darkened. He looked at Gu Mengmeng and asked, So, you were crying and throwing a tantrum back then not because you were sad about leaving me, but because you felt indignant about losing to Nina? Am I right? Gu Mengmeng did not react in time and could not keep up with Li's pace. She was stunned for a while before she understood that her analogy had struck an old wound in Li's heart. So she quickly smoothed it out and said, I was just making an analogy, I didn't mean it that way. Leah clearly did not believe her. He frowned and his long and narrow eyes were filled with desolation. The words, I am sad, were clearly written on his face. Gu Mengmeng did not know whether to laugh or cry. How long had it been? Sigh, the speaker did not mean it, but the listener did. Gu Mengmeng held Li's face and kissed it. She said, Then I won't use Nina as an analogy. I'll use Maya, alright? If you abandon me because of Maya, I will definitely be indignant. Leo looked down and twisted his fingers. He pursed his thin lips and said, You still blame me, right? Because of that, you have a knot in your heart, so you don't believe me anymore, right? In your heart, you can't get rid of the fact that I abandoned you, right? Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. Why did she feel like she was making things worse? Why was she coaxing him making things worse? No. Gu Mengmeng held Li's face with both hands and wanted to explain. Leo raised his brows slightly and choked with emotions. He said, You don't have to deny it. I understand. Who asked me to be the one at fault back then? Gu Mengmeng said, No. Leo turned his head to the other side and looked like he was about to cry. He looked extremely wronged. Gu Mengmeng saw that she could not coax him anymore. So she narrowed her eyes and quickly pinched Li's ear. She said, Yes, I was just unhappy with the show you put up with Nina. Regardless of whether it was real or fake, I can't forgive you for saying that you don't love me. So you better stay away from other females in the future. If I see you being nice to other females other than me again, I will pinch your ear off. Do you hear me? With Gu Mengmeng's roar, Leo was no longer pretentious. He looked at Gu Mengmeng affectionately and nodded his head seriously, like a Samoyed being reprimanded by its owner. He looked innocent and pitiful, making others dote on him. He took the initiative to wrap his arms around Gu Mengmeng's waist and gave her a full hug. My Gu Mengmeng is the best. I knew you wouldn't care about me. Gu Mengmeng held her forehead and heaved a sigh of relief. What kind of despicable person was Leah? She couldn't coax him, so after shouting a few times, he calmed down. But wasn't he analyzing Maya's situation just now? What was I saying? But I have to correct one thing. Leah rested his chin on Gu Mengmeng's shoulder and looked at her sideways. Melinda is not as good as you. Everyone in this world is not as good as you. You won't lose to anyone. Gu Mengmeng could not help but laugh out loud. She was actually happy to be praised by her own man. Even though Gu Mengmeng felt that objectively speaking, Melinda was prettier than her. But who wouldn't want to be the prettiest girl in her man's heart? Gu Mengmeng hugged Li's head with both hands and rubbed it. Then, she continued. Yeah, you have good taste. Keep it up. Because of Li's interruption, Gu Mengmeng had forgotten to analyze this matter in detail. But anyway, the results would be displayed in front of her tomorrow. There was no difference whether she analyzed it or not. Aside from the topic, there were still 4 days before the release. Yeah, it should be around 120,000 on the first day. Babies, are you surprised? Are you surprised? Chapter 1136. Mandy indeed did not disappoint Gu Mengmeng. The next morning was still fine, but by noon, the atmosphere in Saint Nazaire was clearly different. As Elvis had already stored enough food and did not need to go out hunting, Gu Mengmeng let him accompany her to walk around the tribe. On one hand, it was to check if there were any loopholes, and on the other hand, she wanted to see Mandy's results. By the stream, the 16 valued females were sitting in a circle discussing something. When they saw Gu Mengmeng, they all stood up and greeted her in a docile manner. Gu Mengmeng waved at Mandy, who walked over with a smile. What were you talking about just now? Why are you smiling so happily? Gu Mengmeng asked even though she already knew the answer. After all, with her current hearing, she had already heard their conversation from afar. Mandy chuckled and replied, Liana and the rest took in a few new males last night and are showing us her mating marks. Yeah, Gu Mengmeng heard this just now. Liana's new partner last night, mark on her butt, to prevent Liana from lifting up her beast skin skirt to show her new mark. Gu Mengmeng spoke first. Last winter, there were 3 females in Sauter who gave birth to cubs, and 1 was pregnant with a female cub. This year, all of you must fight hard for me. Don't let others say that my 16 valued females are good-looking but useless, understand? Great messenger, don't worry. We have sufficient food this winter, and with you, the leader and the witch doctor around, we don't need to worry about being disturbed. We will work hard to mate, and fight hard for the great messenger when winter ends next year. We won't let those foxes in Sauter lose out. The one speaking was Liana. Gu Mengmeng nodded in satisfaction and said, Females are the tribe's precious resource, and cubs are the foundation of a tribe's strength. All of you must work hard, the glory of Saint Nazaire depends on all of you. The females were all fighting to be the first to agree to Gu Mengmeng's request, as if they were injected with chicken blood. Gu Mengmeng nodded in satisfaction and thought to herself, Males, this is as far as I can help you. As they were chatting and laughing, Maya also arrived at the stream. But before they even got close, the faces of the 16 valued females darkened. Gu Mengmeng pretended not to understand and looked at everyone, then at Maya, not saying a word. Mandy exchanged glances with the 16 valued females before walking to Gu Mengmeng's side. She said coquettishly, Gu Mengmeng, I have a secret to tell you. Follow me back to my cave to take a look, alright? Gu Mengmeng naturally had to go along with Mandy's act, so she nodded. Alright. After agreeing, he said to the others, Sorry girls, Mandy and I will be leaving first. I'll chat with you another day. Take care, great messenger. Goodbye, great messenger. The 16 valued females smiled and waved at Gu Mengmeng, then watched her leave. In actual fact, Gu Mengmeng and Mandy had secretly returned to the stream after taking a detour. But this time, they hid behind a large tree in the distance, quietly observing the situation by the stream without revealing themselves. Hey, half-beast female. Liana was the first to attack. She took a step forward and stood in front of Maya. She said, We sisters want to rest by the stream. Get lost. Chapter 1137. I'm also a female of Saint Nazaire. Maya said timidly. Leanna chuckled and crossed her arms in front of her chest. So what? We are complete females and have the right to enjoy the tribe's resources first. A lowly half-orc female like you dares to snatch from us. After Nina's death, it had been a long time since anyone in St. Nazaire talked about complete females and half-orc females. Because of Gu Mingming's relationship with Sandy, she was very lenient towards the half-orc females. Hence, the 16 valued females had been very restrained in the past year and had never argued with Sandy and Maya. However, the sense of superiority that had been ingrained from birth could not be completely worn away in just over a year. There was really no need to learn how to flaunt their prowess in front of the half-orc females. Every complete female could do it easily. Especially when the 15 present were the original first beauties of the tribe. This sense of superiority was even more obvious. All of them were at the peak of their abilities. Gu Mengmeng said that in St. Nazaire, half-orc females are not inferior to complete females. We are all the same. Maya could not keep up the act any longer. She clenched her fists tightly by her side and her voice was sharp. Leanna looked as if she had heard a joke. She lifted her chin and looked at Maya. Oh, are you trying to curry favor with the great messenger just because you are an old tribesman of St. Nazaire? Are you trying to show how close you are to the great messenger so that you can use her name to pressure us? That's not what I meant. Maya felt that things were getting out of hand. Everything had been fine yesterday, but she did not know why things had turned out this way today. Her males had gone out to hunt in the morning and all of them were injured when they returned. She asked in detail and found out that they had been bullied by the males of the 16 valued females. Not only had they snatched their prey, they had also severely injured them. Although St. Nazaire had a witch doctor, the injuries of ordinary males could not even trouble Leah to treat them. Hence, they could only force themselves to endure. Maya did not know what had happened, so she specially ran over to the stream to find out what was going on. In the end, she realized that these females had started to target her for no reason. All of this was too sudden. She couldn't understand what was going on. Leanna did not have the patience to talk nonsense with Maya. She just took a step back and said, "Where are your males? Are they here? What do you want?" Maya looked at the 16 valued females standing in front of her, her heart pounding. Leanna said, "I don't want to see you here. You can either scram immediately, or let your male come out and compete with our male. The winner will stay." As soon as Leanna finished speaking, the 16 valued females gave their partners a meaningful look, and the accompanying males gathered in unison. In the beast world, a female would have at least 2 family members by her side, the first partner and the strongest male in the family. The 2 of them usually didn't need to go out to hunt. They would always stay by the female's side to ensure that she lived comfortably and safely. Just like Sandy's Boyd and Colin, and Mandy's Ralph and Ian. Therefore, almost all the orcs that surrounded them were level 3 and level 4 orcs. Maya only had a level 2 wolf, Nissan, with her. How could she possibly be a match for them? You. Maya's eyes reddened. She stomped her feet, turned around, and ran away. She looked extremely wronged. Chapter 1138. Leanna snorted coldly. "Do you think we can hide our little tricks from the great messenger?" "You mean," Leanna continued. "With the great messenger's intelligence, the moment Mandy said we were going to pull her away, she knew what we were going to do. If the great messenger wanted to help that half-orc female, she could have stayed or asked her to leave with her. But the great messenger left with Mandy without even turning back. Isn't it obvious that she will not side with her?" "Yeah, that makes sense." Another female agreed. Leanna continued. "Maya is not Sandy. Even if she really complained to the great messenger, she will not pursue the matter even if we deny it. But, Ha, if she really dares to sow discord in front of the great messenger and ruin our image, we will show her the prowess of the 16 valued females. The 10 over females roared with laughter. Then, they all started to think about how to teach Maya a lesson. Elvis, who had been by Gu Mingming's side all along, felt his scalp go numb. He carried Gu Mengmeng up and turned to leave. No way, these females were too scary. He could not let Xiao Meng stay with them anymore. She would be scared. However, he seemed to have forgotten. The one who had instigated these females to target Maya was the little fairy in his arms. After walking for some distance, Gu Mengmeng patted Mandy's shoulder. Now that I have dragged you down with me, we can be considered to have been in the same boat. Although Ian had never been my messenger's protector, his importance to me wasn't any lower than Colin's. So, you can treat me like a good friend like Sandy in the future. When you need my help, you can look for me in my cave. When you miss me, you can also look for me, yeah. Mandy smiled so widely that only her teeth could be seen. It was 70% blissful and 30% sweet. Gu Mengmeng smiled back. It's almost noon. Do you want to have lunch together? Mandy's eyes instinctively darted to Elvis's face. She was clearly trying to read his expression. It was almost winter and by then, Gu Mengmeng would have to stay in the cave no matter how much she liked crowds. So before the snow sealed off the mountain, Elvis did not stop her even though he was unwilling. He nodded, silently allowing Mandy to accompany Gu Mengmeng for a meal. Mandy was overjoyed as she nodded. Then, she turned to her partner and said, "Ralph, send me to the outskirts of Gu Mingming's territory, then go back and ask Ian to fetch me." "All right." Ralph nodded, then carried Mandy up and followed Elvis back to the cave. As winter was approaching, Wharton, who shared meals with them, treated every meal as his last. As a result, the amount of prey he brought back increased day by day, causing Leah, who was in charge of cooking, to have a bad expression on his face. There were a few times when he wanted to reject Wharton's request to share a meal with him, but on account of Gu Mengmeng, he held himself back. When Gu Mengmeng returned, she saw Wharton circling around the pot. Barit was like a silent ranger sitting quietly at the entrance of the cave, his deep and precise gaze capturing Gu Mingming's figure. Meanwhile, Leah was looking at Wharton with disdain while cooking. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng had returned, the smile on his face turned warmer. Chapter 1139. TSK TSK TSK. Leo was speechless as he shook his head in amazement. "This female's technique is really," Gu Mengmeng chuckled and continued Li's sentence. "There is no smoke on a woman's battlefield, but it is far crueler than a man's." Leah nodded in deep agreement. Just hearing Gu Mingming's plan to deal with Maya from the 16 valued females was already enough to make Leah gasp in amazement. He had always thought that the Snow Fox tribe was good at scheming, but now he realized that their so-called scheming only applied to making use of others. They would only act after obtaining benefits, so as long as they followed the lines of benefits, they would always be able to find clues. Even for a pervert like Cole, there were still benefits to be gained from guessing people's intentions. But when the females were ruthless, they would simply harm you, without any benefits at all. Their motives were so pure that it made one speechless. So much so that it was impossible to deduce the course of events from the conclusion, because the final outcome would be someone's misfortune, and no one would gain anything from it. Leah facepalmed as he thought about it. He suddenly felt that those accidents that he did not take to heart in the past were not so simple. Gu Mengmeng did not say much and just continued eating from her bowl. "With the 16 valued females taking care of Maya, even if I am not in Saint Nazaire, Maya's days will not be too boring." He would not have the time and energy to obstruct Gu Mingming's actions. Mandy finished the meat in her bowl, then looked up at Gu Mengmeng. "Gu Mengmeng, there is something I feel I should tell you." Gu Mengmeng looked back at Mandy, inquiring with her eyes. Mandy said, when I went to meet the 16 valued females this morning, I purposely raised the topic of Maya and heard something strange. Gu Meng Meng replied with a single syllable, indicating for Mandy to continue. Mandy continued, during the rainy season last year, there were many people from other tribes who came to Saint Nazaire to snatch food. But every time there was an invasion, Maya was not in the tribe. Even though a lot of her food was snatched away, when we saw her at the end of winter, we realized that she did not lose any weight at all. Moreover, her partners were all there. What he meant was that even though Maya's food had been stolen, she was still able to enjoy a sumptuous winter, and it wasn't at the expense of eating her companion. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. She was not surprised by this outcome at all. She just exchanged a look with Leah and it was a tacit understanding. Oakley wanted to use the water source to push Solder to the teeth of the storm to coerce Cole, so Cole used the food to drag Saint Nazaire into the water to share the risk. Since it was Cole's doing, he would naturally give Maya some pointers. After all, most of the males who would come to snatch the food were already mated. In order to prevent their own females from starving, there was a high possibility that they would kill Maya when snatching the food. After all, as long as Maya died, her male would be devoured by the mating contract. This way, the food that her family had stored up would become ownerless, and they could take whatever they wanted. Maya was an important chess piece in the game between Cole and Leah. Naturally, Cole would not let Maya die so easily. So it was natural for him to give her a few pointers before she made a move. He couldn't let the food robbers kill Maya, and naturally, he wouldn't let her starve to death during the winter. Chapter 1140. Mandy saw that Gu Meng Meng was not surprised at all and was even exchanging glances with Leah. Mandy thought for a moment and asked, "You already knew?" Gu Meng Meng did not hide anything from Maya and nodded. "Yeah, I knew." Mandy nodded. "That's true. You are the messenger of the beast deity. You must know everything." Gu Meng Meng chuckled. She thought to herself that the messenger of the beast deity was not a half-immortal. How could she know everything? It was just that Leah had told her about Maya's identity. Many things became clear at a glance. There was no need to explain too much. Sometimes, it was good to maintain a sense of mystery. Mandy had just finished the meat in her bowl when Ian came to fetch her. He even placed a beast-skin bag on the table. "My man has freeloaded a few meals at your place. Consider this a gift in return." With that, Ian did not waste any more words. He carried Mandy and flew into the sky. Gu Meng Meng snorted arrogantly. "So what if you can fly?" A reply came from the sky. "Yes, it's great to be able to fly." Gu Meng Meng waved her fist and roared. "Just you wait." Despite her roar, Gu Meng Meng was not really angry. She just casually flipped open the beast-skin bag on the table. There were over 50 bird eggs the size of chicken eggs inside. According to the ratio in the beast world, these eggs were probably equivalent to quail eggs in the modern world. Leah craned his neck to take a look. He smiled. "Ian, you're good. It's almost winter and the birds are not laying eggs anymore. You must have flown for a long time to find these, right?" "Ha!" Laughing, Leah raised his voice and shouted in the direction that Ian had flown off to. "Hey, welcome your female to join us for a meal again." Gu Meng Meng burst out laughing. If Leah were to wave a handkerchief in his hand now, he would look like a brothel madam from a television drama. Leah did not know what Gu Meng Meng was laughing at. He just habitually curled his lips at her smile. Then, he turned around to continue preparing the food. Elvis, who had been silent all this while, tightened his arms around Gu Meng Meng's waist. "Xiao Meng, in the future, you better not hang out with the 16 valued females. They are too dangerous." Gu Meng Meng turned around and asked Elvis with a smile, "Are you scared?" Elvis nodded. If it was a tactic aimed at him, he was not afraid of anything. But he was especially afraid that those methods would be used on Gu Mengmeng one day. In the past, he had felt that females were annoying, but now he felt that they were terrifying. Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and patted his back lightly to comfort him. "Don't worry, they won't use those tricks on me. Even if he used it, it wouldn't be enough in front of me. I've watched more than 700 episodes of Detective Conan, and I'm proficient in more than 600 ways to kill people. I'm familiar with hundreds of poisons and know how to create all kinds of alibis." Seeing how Gu Mengmeng was spouting nonsense, Elvis's mood suddenly became better. No matter what others wanted to do to her, he would always be there to protect her. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the mountain was covered in snow. Gu Mengmeng sat at the entrance of the cave. Holding her chin, she watched as the entrance, which could fit 3 people side by side, was gradually sealed by the snow. Her gaze became a little dazed. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng from behind and whispered into her ear, "It's too cold, don't sit at the entrance." Chapter 1141. Ever since Gu Mengmeng inherited Elvis's night vision ability, they no longer stayed in the outermost chamber of the cave. It was too close to the cave entrance and was not the most comfortable place in the cave. Previously, they stayed there just to accommodate Gu Mengmeng's need for a light source. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her little hands and said, "On the first day of sealing the mountain, I'll let you guys try something good." Elvis and Leah looked at each other, not knowing what Gu Mengmeng meant. After all, every piece of meat and potato in this cave was carried back by the 2 of them personally. What other good things could make Gu Mengmeng act so mysteriously? But since the little female had such an interest, the 2 of them were naturally willing to cooperate. So they smiled and looked at Gu Mengmeng expectantly. Gu Mengmeng took the small bamboo cup that she made in the bamboo forest and walked to the side of the wooden barrel. She lifted the lid and leaned against the barrel to smell it. Yeah, a fruity aroma mixed with a rich wine aroma. It should be drinkable. Gu Mengmeng did not pass it to Elvis and Leah hastily. She first poured half a cup into her own small cup and tasted it carefully. Without professional equipment, she could not extract the sugar, so the sourness was not balanced. It was more like grape juice than red wine. But if one tasted it carefully, it was not difficult to discover that there was alcohol in it. Actually, the taste was still very good. But Gu Mengmeng herself had not drunk any high-quality wine in the modern world. But compared to the Great Wall Dry Red, Gu Mengmeng felt that her portion was still better. Gu Mengmeng then poured a cup for Leah and Elvis respectively after the wine was fine. Then, she gestured for them to try it. Leah was a little surprised. He knocked on the wooden barrel and said, "This is for drinking. I thought you wanted to use it for bathing." Gu Mengmeng could not help but laugh and said, "I've only heard of people using milk to bathe. I've never seen anyone using red wine to bathe." "Red wine?" Leah asked. Gu Mengmeng nodded and answered, "Yeah, usually wine is brewed from grains. But I've been here for more than 2 years and have never seen a single grain of rice. I can't even eat it, let alone brew wine. Luckily, grapes can also be used to brew wine. Although the purity is not high, it's still good to drink it. Would you like to try it?" Elvis and Leah did not say anything else. Anything given by Gu Mengmeng, even if it was poison, they would drink it in one gulp and praise it as delicious. What more a glass of wine? The way they drank without hesitation made Gu Mengmeng frown. Red wine was a matter of taste. How did these 2 manage to taste like guillotine? If there was a wooden board stuck on the back of their necks, the 2 of them should have smashed the cup after drinking this bowl of wine, and then righteously said, 18 years later, we will be heroes again. Before Gu Mengmeng could complain, she heard a loud thud and Elvis fell straight onto the ground. Gu Mengmeng was shocked and immediately squatted down to hug Elvis's head, patting his face and calling, "Hubby. Hubby, what happened to you? Are you allergic to grapes?" Don't scare me. Huff, 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 Gu Meng Meng was taken aback for a moment. She blinked her eyes and looked at Elvis, whose face was rosy and his breathing was even and did not look like he was allergic at all. She was stunned for a moment before she laughed dryly and said, "It can't be. 1 cup and you'll pass out." Chapter 1142. Leah. Gu Meng Meng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She should not have allowed them to drink at the same time. She had forgotten that there were no alcohol products in the beast world and these two had no resistance to it at all. She had thought that they might get drunk, but she did not expect them to be so drunk after just 1 cup. Leah frowned and pinched Gu Meng Meng's face with his large hands, forcefully turning her mouth into a fish's mouth. Then, he kissed her harshly and said angrily, "What did you call me?" Leah. Before Gu Meng Meng could finish her sentence, Leah kissed her again, crushing the word "yeah" in her mouth. Squinting his dangerous eyes, Leah said domineeringly, "Call me daddy." Pfft, Gu Meng Meng really wanted to spit a mouthful of red wine on Lee's face. Ever since she gave birth to Heda and his brothers, she did not call him daddy anymore. She thought he had long forgotten about it. "Stop fooling around, let me put Elvis on the bed first, alright?" Gu Meng Meng tried to reason with Leah. But Leah did not care about that and squeezed himself in between Gu Meng Meng and Elvis. Then, he squeezed Elvis out of Gu Meng Meng's embrace and made her his own. His large tail wrapped around her waist and he clung onto Gu Meng Meng like an octopus, saying, "Call me daddy, quickly call me daddy." Leah, Leah did not stop until he heard Gu Meng Meng call him daddy. He kissed her lips harshly again. When they let go, both of their lips were slightly swollen. His gaze was filled with hidden bitterness and his drunken state was the most blurry. His gaze landed on Gu Meng Meng's face and he said softly, "In the past, you would always call me Leah daddy obediently, but now you don't. Gu Meng Meng, little Gu Meng Meng, did you have a change of heart? Do you think I don't look good anymore?" Gu Meng Meng knew that Leah was drunk so she gave up trying to reason with a drunkard. She could only go along with his wishes and called out softly, "Daddy Leah." Leah froze for half a second before suddenly crying. As he cried, he hugged Gu Meng Meng and kissed her randomly. He choked as he kissed, "Oh. I must be dying, right? Otherwise, why would you be so obedient? You must be thinking that I'm going to die. Sob sob sob, I don't want to die yet, I still want to accompany you. What will you do if I die? You can't eat Elvis's cooking, you'll be poisoned to death." Was the logic of a drunkard fed to the dogs? He asked her to call Leah daddy, and she did, so he was going to die. What the F***ck was this? This was the first time Gu Meng Meng saw Leah cry, and it was in such a situation. Sighing, Gu Meng Meng hugged Leah back and patted his back to comfort him. You won't die. You still want to grow old with me, don't you?" "Yes." Leah cried aggrievedly and only managed to spit out one word after a few turns. Gu Meng Meng said, "All right, come down quickly, you're so heavy." "Meng Meng, do you still like me?" Chapter 1143. Leah stuck out his tongue and licked Gu Meng Meng's face, saying, "Here, just like this." Similar to how dogs express their love. Yeah, orcs still had some beast genes in them, licking should be the most direct way for them to express their love, right? But it was so embarrassing, Gu Meng Meng felt that she could not do it. "You don't like it?" Lee's gaze was blurry, with a tinge of infatuation and drunkenness. He stuck out his pink tongue and licked the tip of Gu Meng Meng's nose, saying, "I like Gu Meng Meng so much, why can't Gu Meng Meng like me a little too?" Gu Meng Meng felt all the bones in her body go limp after being licked by Leah. Stop fooling around, Leah paused, then sniffed. He suddenly smiled and hooked Gu Mingming's chin with his index finger, saying, I can smell the scent of the fox seductive fragrance. My Gu Mengmeng is aroused, because of me, right? You like me licking you? No. Gu Mengmeng wanted to kill herself. Leah was clearly teasing her unconsciously when he was drunk, but her damn body actually reacted. Gu Mengmeng despised herself harshly in her heart and kept telling herself to stay calm, stay calm. It was a perverted act to lay hands on someone who was not in his right mind. She was a good wife from a good family, she would not do such a thing. Leah bit Gu Mengmeng's lips. Hearing Gu Mengmeng gasping in pain, he seemed to be smiling happily, wiping away his tears and curling his lips, saying, Punish you, who asked you not to tell the truth. Gu Mengmeng, you're not good, you secreted so much fox seductive fragrance when I licked you, the last time, when I licked here, the concentration of the fox seductive fragrance almost made me lose consciousness. His slender fingers gently wiped Gu Mingming's lips, asking, Did I bite you? Ah, it's all red, it must be painful. As he said, he pulled Gu Mingming's hand and placed it on his chest, saying, If you're in pain, I feel the pain too. Damn, don't bite me if you're feeling heartache. Moreover, what kind of scene was that when he said that he felt heartache and smiled at the same time? Seeing that Gu Mengmeng was not saying anything, Leah blinked his eyes, as if his brain was broken and he was trying hard to organize his thoughts. After a long while, he finally said, Why don't I lick you? You can lick me after you're happy. Gu Mengmeng was really speechless, they were not even two damn dogs, why were they licking? Gu Mengmeng hardened her heart and thought if she should just release some beast pressure to make Leah faint. But before she could do anything, she heard a sound from the side. When she looked up, Elvis, who was lying on the ground like a corpse, was already standing there with his hands behind his back. He was looking down at Gu Mengmeng, who was lying on the ground under Leah. Xiao Meng, get up. Elvis's voice was cold and his expression was sinister. He looked completely different from his usual self. Gu Mengmeng was a little terrified. Could it be that she developed a second personality after drinking? She pushed Leah, but Leah just lay on Gu Mengmeng's body, refusing to get up. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to look up at Elvis. In the end, the moment she met his eyes, she felt her body becoming lighter. Leah was thrown out by Elvis in a parabola trajectory, crashing heavily against the cave wall. Elvis then lifted Gu Mengmeng up and said coldly, I said, get up. Damn, Elvis looked so scary after drinking. Could it be that he was going to commit domestic violence after drinking? Aside from the topic, these two fellows, passed out after one drink, their styles after getting drunk were completely different. Yeah, everyone can look forward to what kind of jokes these two fellows would make tomorrow. Chapter 1144. I'm up, I'm up. It had been a long time since Gu Mengmeng was carried by Elvis like this. Her feet did not touch the ground and after kicking a few times, seeing that Elvis had no intention of putting her down, she just gave up and treated herself as a piece of laundry that was hung up. Elvis's blue eyes were bottomless and his expression was calm and sinister. He did not look like he was drunk, but an extremely calm killer executing a mission. This expression was actually Elvis's signature expression before he met Gu Mengmeng, but she had never seen him like this before. A large hand pinched Gu Mengmeng's lower jaw and his gaze locked onto her swollen lips. He frowned slightly and his blue eyes deepened. His voice was as cold as a bone-chilling wind, he bit you. Gu Mengmeng was thinking that Elvis's black and drunken look was not one to be trifled with. Should she lie for Leah? In the end, before she could say anything, her mouth was forcefully kissed by Elvis. His nimble tongue attacked the inside of her mouth, taking whatever he wanted and turning the world upside down. He kissed her until she almost suffocated before Elvis let go of her. There was not a hint of lust on his face, and he was still as cold as an assassin. He opened his mouth and said calmly, "Let's go. There's his taste." After saying that, Gu Mengmeng felt her body lighten and she was free falling. Elvis let go without any warning and Gu Mengmeng fell onto the ground on her butt. Before she could get up, Elvis and Leah were already in a brawl. It was not the usual playful way of fighting. The two of them looked like they were fighting with their lives on the line. Did they really just drink a glass of wine with low purity? Were they sure they didn't drink concentrated alcohol? "Stop fighting!" Gu Mengmeng roared. Leah was not Elvis's match due to the difference in their levels and was almost being suppressed by him. Elvis was stopped by Gu Mengmeng's roar. He turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and said coldly, "Don't butt in between males matters." After saying that, he threw another punch at Leah. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. She did not expect Elvis to be so straight after getting drunk. She was momentarily speechless. While Elvis was distracted talking to Gu Mengmeng, Leah suddenly broke free from his restraint and shouted, "How dare you shout at my Gu Mengmeng!" She pounced towards Elvis and hung onto his back, biting his shoulder with all her might without letting go. Elvis's muscles tightened, but with only one level of difference, he could not shake off Leah as easily as Wabi did with the four little ones. He could only bend his body forward and roll on the ground, pinning Leah behind him. Leah heaved a sigh of relief from the pain on his back. Elvis took the opportunity to flip over and ride on Lee's body. His hands had already turned into sharp claws and he went straight for Lee's face. Gu Mengmeng saw that they would really die if she did not stop them. Hence, she clenched her fists and instantly released a huge amount of beast pressure, causing Elvis and Leah to fall to the ground in a second. Elvis's body went limp and he laid on Lee's body. Lee's claws had already pierced into Elvis's back and half of his nails were embedded in his flesh. One of Elvis's hands was holding onto Lee's silver hair tightly while the other hand that was about to attack Leah landed weakly beside Lee's ear. Chapter 11:45. Gu Mengmeng sighed. Forget it, these two fellows had real fur on their bodies and they would not feel cold even if they slept on the floor. Just let them be. Gu Mengmeng shook her head helplessly and poured herself another glass of grape wine. She tasted it carefully and it tasted really good. Moreover, the purity was really not high. She did not know why the two of them were so drunk. After drinking 2 to 3 glasses, Gu Mengmeng felt tipsy so she covered the glass and climbed back into bed to sleep. She did not know how long she slept in a daze. But when Gu Mengmeng woke up, Elvis and Leah had not woken up yet. The two of them were still in the same position as when they were fighting. But now, they seemed to be more intimate. Elvis loosened his grip on Lee's hair so he was no longer in a state of grabbing but, my hand that went through your silver hair. His other hand that was originally going to attack Leah had now gone through the back of Lee's neck and was used as a pillow under his head. Lee's claws that were originally stuck in Elvis's waist had loosened a little and his nails had already been pulled out from his flesh. But now, his two arms were wrapped around Elvis's waist, as if he was hugging him. For long legs were intertwined and the beast skin dress had already become crooked during the fight. It was a pathetic and ambiguous scene and it was half covered and half exposed, making it even more tempting for one's imagination. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a long time. She stared blankly at this scene that was even more seductive than a calcium film. Blood flowed down her nose uncontrollably. Elvis and Leah were traumatized by Gu Mengmeng's blood because of the scene of Gu Mengmeng's difficult labor when she gave birth to Kanwo and how Snakel carried Gu Mengmeng back in the Snake King Valley. So the moment they smelled her blood, the two of them woke up in shock. The first second after they opened their eyes, they were in a daze. Then, shock. Elvis and Leah originally thought that they were hugging Gu Mengmeng, so their first reaction when they opened their eyes was to stare at each other affectionately. But with just one look, the two of them were petrified. They immediately bounced back as if they were electrocuted. Then, the two of them peeked at Gu Meng Meng in unison. Seeing the blood dripping from her nose, he gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng in his arms and supported the back of her head with his hand to raise her head. Leah, on the other hand, quickly went to the door and dug out 2 large chunks of snow, using his body to melt it into water, before patting it on Gu Mingming's forehead and nose bridge. The temperature of the snow was very low. After Leah melted the snow with his hands were also very cold. When he touched Gu Mingming's skin, there was an icy feeling and it was very comfortable. Gu Mengmeng squinted her eyes and giggled foolishly while Elvis and Lee's faces darkened even further. Erase whatever you're thinking about right now, now. Leah smacked Gu Mingming's forehead as he commanded, almost gritting his teeth. Gu Mengmeng feigned ignorance and smiled. What am I thinking? I wasn't thinking about anything. Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng coldly and pinched her little nose. You have a nosebleed when you didn't think of anything. Gu Mengmeng held back her laughter. She looked at Elvis and then at Leah. Then, she stuck one hand into Lee's hair and the other around his neck. She looked at Leah lustfully and asked, "Are you trying to make me forget about this?" Chapter 1146. Just now when she woke up, Elvis was hugging Leah in this position, but the look between Elvis and Leah was definitely not like what Gu Mengmeng was showing now. But as the impact was too great, Elvis and Leah were already in a daze, so they did not notice this detail. With that, Gu Mengmeng turned around and walked behind Elvis. She crossed her legs around Elvis's waist and placed her right hand on Elvis's right shoulder. She lowered it and placed it on Elvis's chest while her left hand went under Elvis's left armpit and hooked upwards, touching Elvis's heart. Her little head landed on Elvis's left shoulder and she opened her mouth. Closing her teeth, she bit on Elvis's shoulder. Before she let go, she even licked Elvis's shoulder with the tip of her tiny tongue, causing Elvis to shudder. Gu Mengmeng smiled innocently, looking up at Leah and asked, "Or do you want me to forget about this?" With that, Gu Mengmeng got down from Elvis's body again, drawing circles on the bite mark on Elvis's left shoulder with her little hand. From the size of the bite mark, it was obvious that it was not Gu Mengmeng's, and there were 4 deeper holes, obviously made by her fangs. Leah instantly felt as if he was struck by lightning, staring at Gu Mengmeng in shock. The snow had sealed the mountain and there were only 3 people in this cave. Gu Mengmeng did not have fangs, so unless Elvis could pull his own head off and place it on his shoulder to bite himself, that bite mark could only be him. The scene of Gu Mengmeng seductively hanging onto Elvis's body replayed endlessly in Lee's mind, then automatically replaced with his own. Leah fell and sat on the ground, feeling as though all his hopes had been dashed to pieces. Elvis was not much better than Leah. The act of putting his hands in his hair and hugging his neck was imitated by Gu Mengmeng, then the act of hugging his back and biting his shoulder was obviously imitated by her. Elvis clenched his fists and asked in a cold voice, "Leah and I, last night, happened, he could not bring himself to ask." Gu Mengmeng tried hard to hold back her laughter and said, "So many things happened, do you want me to replay them one by one for you to see?" "No need." Leo looked up abruptly and took a deep breath. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, "You just have to tell me one thing. Between the two of us, who was on top and who was on bottom?" Gu Mengmeng was laughing like a dog in her heart, but it was such a rare opportunity. He had to hold it in. Thus, Gu Mengmeng tapped her chin lightly with her little hand, as if she was trying hard to recall. Then, she said, "Oh, you were pressed down by Elvis yesterday. And beaten up." Gu Mengmeng did not say the last word naughtily. Lee's face turned green and Elvis was no better. So, both of them betrayed Gu Mengmeng and did something indescribable in front of her. Elvis staggered to the side of the wine barrel and raised his paw to smash it. Gu Meng Meng was shocked and immediately rushed over to block the barrel. She stared wide-eyed at Elvis and asked, "What are you doing?" Elvis's eyes were bloodshot, and when he looked at Gu Meng Meng, he felt like his heart was aching. He squeezed out a sentence from the gaps of his teeth, word by word, "Let me destroy this harmful thing first, then you can punish me, all right?" Gu Meng Meng was taken aback when she met Elvis's eyes. She wanted to play a prank but did not want to hurt Elvis and Lee's hearts. Chapter 1147. Hubby, don't be angry, listen to my explanation. Gu Meng Meng tried to comfort Elvis, but Elvis smiled bitterly and said, "Ah, you have already decided not to want me, right? So I have no right to destroy your things." "It's not like that." Gu Meng Meng shook her head, but Elvis did not give her a chance to finish her sentence. He took a step back and opened his chest as if he was about to die a martyr. He said, "Come on, end me. If I can die in your hands, I can die without regrets." Gu Meng Meng felt guilty. She did not want to play to this extent. She originally wanted to see Elvis and Lee's awkward look, but she ended up making them sad. Gu Meng Meng directly flew into Elvis's arms and bumped into him. She shook her head and said, "Hubby, nothing happened between you and Leah." Elvis's back stiffened and he immediately lowered his shoulders. He said, "You are still so kind and soft-hearted. Even after such a thing happened, you still can't bear to kill me." "Ha, but what should I do? I can't face you." Gu Meng Meng hugged Elvis tightly and said, "I didn't lie to you, really. Both of you had a fight last night and it was a little fierce, so I used my beast pressure to make both of you faint afterward." Leah swayed his tail and stood up from the ground. He turned around and leaned against the side of the wooden barrel. He crossed his arms and looked at Gu Meng Meng. He said, "Elvis, don't be so calculative. Anyway, I am the one at a disadvantage." "I don't even mind, why do you mind? Didn't Meng Meng always want to see such a scene? Let's just take it as a sacrifice to satisfy her." The veins on Elvis's forehead protruded. He looked at Leah coldly and said, "Yeah, right, I almost forgot about you." With that, Elvis stretched out his sharp claws and pounced towards Leah, looking like he wanted to take his life. Leah lowered his body and easily dodged. He then pulled Gu Meng Meng over and pushed her in front of Elvis. He hid behind Gu Meng Meng and said, "Meng Meng, look at him. He took advantage of me and still wants to abuse me. Sobs, 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 I can't live on anymore." "If you can't, then go and die," Elvis said and wanted to attack again, but Leah just pushed Gu Meng Meng as a shield, dodging left and right to avoid Elvis's attack. Elvis was afraid of hurting Gu Meng Meng, so he tried many times but failed to hit Leah. Gu Meng Meng was dizzy from being shaken by Leah, but looking at the situation, she understood that Leah had reacted and believed Gu Meng Meng's words, so Gu Meng Meng could only beg for mercy. "All right, Leah, stop fooling around. Hurry and explain to Elvis, he will get angry if you continue." Only then did Leah pull Gu Meng Meng into his arms, pinching her little nose and shaking it left and right. His long and narrow eyes were filled with ridicule and reproach, as well as overwhelming indulgence and pampering. "Why didn't I see you being so obedient when you caused trouble? Are you begging for mercy now that you can't clean up the mess? I was wrong, I was wrong." Gu Meng Meng looked up at Leah with her innocent little puppy face and begged, "Hurry up, Elvis will really flip out if you continue." Leah tapped Gu Meng Meng's little nose and said, "I will settle the score with you later." Gu Meng Meng stuck out her little tongue and lowered her head in defeat. Leah, on the other hand, walked 2 steps towards Elvis out of boredom. He wanted to touch Elvis just now, but Elvis dodged away like he was avoiding the plague. Chapter 1148. Leah. Gu Meng Meng called Leah softly, with a "Why are you adding oil to the fire?" expression as she looked at Leah. Leah poked Gu Meng Meng's little head, then looked at Elvis with a chuckle. If I'm in heat, I will emit my fox seductive fragrance uncontrollably. I can't even control it myself. Take a sniff, does this cave have my fox seductive fragrance? Elvis was taken aback, then he really sniffed carefully with his nose. No, there really wasn't. A crack seemed to appear on Elvis's face, then an expression as if he had just survived a calamity slowly emerged from the sinister surface. Leah poked Elvis's shoulder again, saying, "Look at the wound yourself, does it look like I bit you when you were flirting? When have you ever seen me bite Gu Meng Meng so harshly?" With that, Elvis lowered his head to look at the wound on his shoulder. Indeed, to a male, this kind of wound was nothing, but one could tell that it was not left by biting when he was in heat. The flesh was already flipped open, he must have bitten really hard at that time. Leah rubbed his own hair again, then gently pushed it aside for Elvis to see, saying, "Have you ever seen anyone scratch out such a deep wound on their scalp while touching someone's hair? This technique, why do I feel like you wanted to fix my head in place, then directly blow it off?" Elvis glanced at the wound on Lee's head. Yeah, this was his usual technique. The turbid air in his chest finally dispersed. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng with a complicated gaze. "Xiao Meng, come here." Gu Meng Meng walked over timidly, pinching Elvis's beast-skin skirt lightly with 2 fingers, saying, "I was just joking, I didn't expect you to take it seriously. I was wrong, I won't joke like this again in the future." Elvis poked Gu Meng Meng's little head, sighing helplessly. "You also promised me the same thing the last time you had a nosebleed." Which meant that her credibility had gone bankrupt. Gu Meng Meng smiled awkwardly, wrapping her arms around Elvis's waist. "That was because you shouted at me yesterday, that's why I pranked you." Elvis raised his eyebrows. He did not believe that he would yell at Gu Meng Meng. It was not enough for him to hold her in his palm. Seeing that Elvis did not believe her, Gu Meng Meng's face darkened and she mimicked Elvis's tone and expression yesterday. "Don't butt in when it comes to males. You yelled at me like that yesterday." The impression was blurry, but Elvis seemed to have said something like that. Rubbing Gu Meng Meng's little head, Elvis could not be angry at her at all. Just now, he thought that he was going to lose her, so he kept praying to the beast deity that everything in front of him was just a dream. Now, he had gotten what he wanted, so why would he be bothered about Gu Meng Meng's prank? On top of that, Elvis's heart ached even more when he heard that he had shouted at her last night. His Xiao Meng should be treasured and listened to the most gentle words in the world. How could he bear to yell at her? Hugging Gu Meng Meng and kissing the top of her head, Elvis said guiltily, "I'm sorry, I might have gone crazy to shout at you." Gu Meng Meng looked up at Elvis with a smile, asking, "Then let's treat it as if we're even. You're not allowed to settle scores after this." Chapter 1149. Leah tapped Gu Meng Meng's shoulder lightly and said, "I didn't shout at you yesterday, right?" Gu Meng Meng knew that Leah might have seen through her prank long ago, so he was not as agitated as Elvis and she did not feel so guilty towards him. But due to the two-faced nature of her fox, Gu Meng Meng decided not to fight him head-on. She pulled her lower lip and flipped the wound out for Leah to see, saying, "Guess why Elvis fought with you yesterday?" Leah frowned when he saw the wound on the inside of Gu Meng Meng's mouth, as if a needle was pricking his heart. Hiss. "I bit you." Gu Meng Meng hugged Lee's head and kissed him. Leah was first taken aback, but quickly turned the tables around and held the back of Gu Meng Meng's head to deepen the kiss. He even used the tip of his tongue to gently stroke the wound on the inside of Gu Meng Meng's lower lip. Yeah, it matched his teeth. When they ended the kiss, Leah was already very sure that he was the one who caused the wound. His heart ached for her, but Leah would not apologize to her like Elvis. Instead, he pinched her little nose and said, "Tell me, what did you do to anger me to the point that I want to bite you, huh?" Gu Meng Meng's heart ached. she could not admit it. Gu Mengmeng instantly recalled the scene of Leah asking her if she liked him licking her with his drunken eyes. "You're blushing." Leah looked at Gu Mengmeng with great interest. He squinted his eyes and sniffed with his nose, saying, "Fox seductive fragrance." "Gu Mengmeng, did I forget something extremely important?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "No, no." Leah held on to Gu Mengmeng's waist and lifted her up. Gu Mengmeng's lower abdomen was pressed tightly against Li's body. Li's smile was devilish and sly, the corners of his lips curved into an ambiguous arc, saying, "You didn't." "Why do I feel that you definitely did, and it's very important?" "Gu Mengmeng, shouldn't you help me recall it personally?" With the last word, Leah blew lightly into Gu Mengmeng's ear, causing her to feel numb all over her body. Taking a step back, Gu Mengmeng bit the corner of her lips and decided to take revenge. Thus, he chuckled and said, "I deserve to be bitten. Does seeing you cry count?" Leah was taken aback and immediately denied, "Impossible, I have never cried before." Elvis added, "Yeah, I've never seen him cry before." Gu Mengmeng's shoulders shook as she chuckled. Then, she placed both her hands on Li's shoulders and said with a heartbroken look, "I'm going to die soon, right?" "Meng, am I going to die?" "Aw. Meng, I don't want to die yet." Leah was stunned. He stared at Gu Mengmeng for a moment before saying, "You made it up, right?" Gu Mengmeng looked straight into Li's eyes, then smiled and shook her head. Leah took a deep breath, then held on to Gu Mengmeng's shoulders with both hands. "Forget it. Forget everything that happened from last night to just now." "I don't forget." Gu Mengmeng straightened her neck and thought to herself, "Who asked you to tease me? Humph, let's see who's better this time." "Don't forget." Leah narrowed his eyes and smiled instead of getting angry. He said, "Then, let's do something more memorable and erase the old memories." Leah and Elvis had been vegetarians for a long time. How would Gu Mengmeng not understand what Leah meant by something more memorable? But Chapter 1150. Silly Girl. Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng's waist and said softly, "Before we get the love of the sky, Elvis and I will not let you get pregnant." Elvis nodded and said, "The snow is not thick enough, just in case, I will go guard the cave entrance." Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng in his arms and gave Elvis a "thank you" look. The two of them did not say anything else, they had a tacit understanding between each other. After Elvis left, only Gu Mengmeng and Leah were left in the cave. Leah hooked Gu Mengmeng's little chin, his long and narrow eyes filled with lust, and he said, "Because of you asking for a child, I endured for so long not daring to touch you. You have been torturing me so hard recently. How are you going to make it up to me, mm?" Gu Mengmeng clearly knew what was going to happen next, so she naturally did not dare to challenge Leah at this moment, or else with Li's black-bellied character, he would make her unable to get off the ground for 3 days. Hooking her arms around Li's neck, Gu Mengmeng smiled in an ingratiating manner and said with arched eyebrows and eyes, "I will forget about you crying before, all right?" Leah gritted his teeth and said, "You are really good at spoiling the atmosphere. Do you think I will let you off just like that?" Gu Mengmeng felt that she had been seen through, but she was not angry and just said shyly, "Don't torment me too much, I am scared." Once Gu Mengmeng gave in, Li's heart itched even more unbearable. He flipped over and pinned Gu Mengmeng under his body, gently biting her left earlobe and said in a low voice, "My little Mengmeng, do you still remember what you promised me previously?" Gu Mengmeng's face was blank, it was obvious that she had completely forgotten about it. "When we were in solder, you thought of all sorts of nonsense and caused your nose to bleed. Elvis and I were so scared that we almost wanted to settle down by the stream. At that time, you promised me that I could punish you however I wanted to. Now you want to go back on your word, huh?" Li's entire body was above Gu Mengmeng, giving off a strong sense of oppression and presence. Gu Mengmeng twisted her body, trying to fight for more space for herself but to no avail. Leah was bullying Gu Mengmeng with a force that could not be pushed away unless she hurt him, knowing that she could not bear to hurt him. Gu Mengmeng could not even breathe smoothly because of Leah. She blushed and said, "How long has it been, you still remember it?" Lee's kiss landed lightly on Gu Mengmeng's lips. He did not go deep and just kissed her lightly. "I had originally forgotten about it, but you refused to change. I feel that if I don't teach you a deeper lesson and make you remember my sexual orientation, your little brain will always be filled with all sorts of nonsense." Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched. Fine, this time he was in the wrong again. Gu Mengmeng pulled out her arms and wrapped them around Lee's neck. She asked coquettishly, "Then tell me, how should I punish him?" "Do you like me?" Leah suddenly asked. Gu Mengmeng took the initiative to offer her own lips and kissed Lee's Adam's apple. She said, "I like you. Then, lick me." Leah smiled extremely devilishly, a teasing look in his eyes. Gu Mengmeng was stunned and blushed instantly. She said, "Aren't you drunk? Why do you still remember?" Chapter 1151. Let's change another one. Gu Mengmeng begged for mercy. "It's too embarrassing, I can't do it." Leah stuck out his tongue and licked Gu Mengmeng's left earlobe. "Gu Mengmeng, do you know? I really like this mark. It's on your left ear and it's whispering sweet nothings to you on behalf of me every day. It's chattering non-stop." Then, Lee's kiss landed on Gu Mengmeng's eyes. Gu Mengmeng instinctively closed her eyes and allowed his lips to gently cover her eyes. Then, with a wet sensation, Gu Mengmeng knew that Leah had used his tongue to lick her eyes. "I also like your eyes, they're so clean and transparent. The radiance in your eyes makes the stars in the sky dim and dull. When my shadow is reflected in those eyes, I feel that I'm the happiest person in this world." Lee's lips moved downwards and landed on Gu Mengmeng's little nose. He kissed it and then bit it lightly. The tip of his tongue brushed past it and Gu Mengmeng laughed out loud from the tickling. "I like your nose, especially when you're so proud of yourself. It's so vivid that I can see your mischievousness and cuteness, so I can't help but want to pinch it. Oh, right, I also like the joyful smile on your face when you use it to smell the food I cooked for you." He then moved downwards and kissed Gu Mengmeng's lips lightly. He pecked and kissed 7 to 8 times before finally covering her lips deeply. His nimble tongue tangled with the tip of her tongue in her mouth and danced with hers. "I also like your lips. When you laugh, when you're playing around, when you're aroused, even when you're scolding me, every note they make fascinates me, makes me sink, and makes me unable to control myself. No matter where I am, as long as this little mouth calls out to me, even if we're separated by mountains and oceans, I'll still fly towards you, disregarding everything." Holding Gu Mengmeng's little hand, he brought it to his lips and kissed it. Then, he bit each of her fingers and sucked on them gently. "I like your little hands. When you wave at me, when you hug me, when you hold my hand, and when you twist my ear. It clearly transmitted your warmth to me and warmed my cold soul." Leah kissed Gu Mengmeng's entire body. Every time he kissed a spot, he would say a reason and a sentence of love. Gu Mengmeng's maiden heart exploded like popcorn and she felt as sweet as if she was soaked in honey. "Mengmeng, what about you? What do you like about me?" Leah circled one arm around Gu Mengmeng's waist while the other supported the back of her head. With a flip, Gu Mengmeng laid on his chest. "Like what I did just now, lick the place you like, let me know how much you like me, Perhaps it was because the atmosphere Leah had created was too perfect that Gu Mengmeng really felt that licking someone was not something that was embarrassing or unacceptable. Lying on Lee's chest like a cat, Gu Mengmeng kissed Lee's eyes lightly and said softly, "I like your eyes." They slanted to the temples and hid thousands of ravines, but they gave me the exclusive love of the 3,000 worldly mortal world, just for my deep love. Chapter 1152. Holding on to Li's hand, Gu Mengmeng kissed his palm. Then, she placed his large hand on her face and rubbed it gently. I like your hand too. It's slender and bony, with distinct joints. Time and time again, it would support my shoulders when I was helpless and tell me not to be afraid. No matter what happens, it would always prioritize protecting me and taking care of me. Gu Mengmeng mimicked Leah and kissed almost all over his body. Finally, she laid back on Li's chest and kissed his heart. I like this heart the most. That's because I'm the only one in it. Li's heart was lit up by Gu Mengmeng's words of love. The sparks connected and formed a prairie fire. Once it started, it could not be stopped. A round of pleasure could not be avoided. The ambiguity was scattered all over the floor and it evolved into a symphony of love and love. Leah had been sober for a long time. This time, he was a little more ruthless. Gu Mengmeng did it 3 times when she was awake and 2 more times after she fainted before he finally stopped. As a result, Gu Mengmeng was so exhausted that she slept till the sky turned dark. When she woke up, she did not even know how many days had passed. The bruises on her body had already disappeared and her fatigue was almost negligible. If Snake knew that the shocking recovery ability he left for her had been used in such a place, he would probably fly into a rage. You're awake, Leah crawled beside Gu Mengmeng like a satisfied cat. His thick tail swayed to show his master's good mood. Gu Mengmeng stretched out her hand and Leah automatically placed his large tail into Gu Mengmeng's arms. Then, he poked Gu Mengmeng's warm and soft little face with his finger. Are you hungry? The meat is already cooked and placed in the snow at the entrance of the cave to be frozen. You can eat it after heating it up. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. I just woke up, I don't feel like eating. Leah nodded. Then I won't eat it. You can touch me first. Gu Mengmeng paused. Did he start the topic of touch me after lick me? Gu Mengmeng was really scared. She did not know what shameful topic Leah would come up with next. She hurriedly let go of Li's large tail and turned around. Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. Hubby, I'm thirsty. Then, he took out a small bamboo cup and poured a cup of water for her. I was afraid that you would get a nosebleed due to excessive internal heat, so I kept the water boiling on the fire in the cave. But it's a little hot. Drink slowly. Gu Mengmeng replied. She lifted the cup and started sipping the water. Leah knew that she was shy and did not continue teasing her. After all, Gu Mengmeng had not eaten before making love. Now that she had slept so much, her stomach must be empty. So Leah got off the bed and went to the entrance of the cave to retrieve the stewed meat that was frozen in the snow. He placed it in the pot and heated it up. Not long after, a fragrant aroma filled the air, making one's mouth water. Gu Mengmeng sat at the table and ate the meat. She drank 2 mouthfuls of water. It was bland and tasteless. She poured herself a glass of wine to go with her meal. After Elvis and Leah experienced their first hangover, their expressions changed. They wanted to run away from Gu Mengmeng the moment they saw the red liquid in Gu Mengmeng's cup. Gu Mengmeng took a sip. Then, she smacked her lips. Meat stew goes with wine. The more I drink, the better it feels. Tisk, no one else can do this, aside from the topic. Hurry, there's no time. Hurry up and board the train. Look at the car plate, 4927797273. Get the train manager to check your ticket. Babies with more than 800 fans can enter the VIP cabin to enjoy the special treatment of the fragrant meat. Note, this train does not go to the kindergarten. Children who are going to the kindergarten, please do not sneak onto the train. This train does not go to the kindergarten. Children who are going to the kindergarten, please do not sneak onto the train. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.